Hey there, y'all, and welcome to Sideline Shenanigans,
your go-to Texas Legacy podcast,
where we'll talk all things club, culture,
and chaos from inside our volleyball world.
We're your hosts. I'm Jen Cobb, director at Texas Legacy.
And I'm Katie Davis, owner of Texas Legacy. And we're excited to dive in and talk about who we are, where we came from,
and what makes us the best club around.
We'll be flawed, unfiltered,
and most likely winging it every week.
So buckle up and we'll see you on the sidelines.
Something else that we wanted to kind of start this first podcast off talking about is the way that Texas Legacy has grown over the years, and in the ways that it has grown, and yet in the ways that we have worked very diligently for it to remain the same foundation that this club was built upon, and it has grown to be very successful with. We work hard, and we have conversation after conversation about how we're not going to deter from what got us to where we are, because it is very different being in this beautiful building that we're in now, you know, as opposed to renting a couple courts at Klein Oak a couple times a week or whatever. Right. And the pressures obviously that come with growth and sustainability. So let's talk a little bit about, 10 years ago, 11 years ago versus now.
Like how we were competing.
Oh, all the above. Yeah. How we were competing then versus how we're competing now, how we ran practices then, and, how we rented spaces to run practices, and, those different tiers that we've gone through to get to where we are.
We held our first Little Legacies session and tryouts at Krimmel Intermediate in spring. And then once we realized they had 2 courts there, we could make 2 courts out of their gym. And I think our first season we had 7 teams. So we obviously were
that's actually a lot.
Yeah, it's
honestly
not bad. But I think that it was in a moment where there was change happening in clubs around here, and I think that people again want to take a chance on something that maybe is offering a different experience from what they were originally doing. And to be honest, it served us very well to have, Caitlin at an age where her friends were, interested. So it's like, oh, your mom's starting volleyball. So, all of her friends. And
she was what, like 8, 9 at the time?
Yes. Yeah. So of course, all of her friends wanted to try it. And so that was a great, it was a great segue into.
And Caitlin is your oldest.
Yes, Caitlin is my oldest. She is currently playing volleyball at Texas State. I'm a freshman. Oh, it's crazy.
Yes.
I'm not old, but old.
You're not as old as me.
That's true.
Cha-ching.
Okay. What's with my noises? This is I need to stop. Okay, yeah. So then we were at Klein Oak, and they were, renting from a school is very difficult.
Yes.
It is.
There's a lot of parameters that you might not know about.
Yeah, and
you have to go through all that.
And the schedule can change at any moment.
Right.
We would show up and the doors would be locked because they had some other kind of event and they would never tell us. And it was just, you don't have room for private lessons. You can't run really any kind of clinics or anything else because they have other sports. They have sports that they need to use a gym for. And so it just became like a huge issue. After being at Klein Oak for that first year, we were like, we have to figure out something else.
And that was like something that plagued us for the first 4 or 5 years of existence, because we were always at the mercy of somebody else. We were always renting space from somebody else, and their calendar mattered far more than ours.
And understandably so, yeah.
Totally, yeah.
But I think that is part of what kept us from being able to grow skill-wise our players in a different capacity, because you have to be able to do lessons and stuff. And even just to offer camps and clinics that allowed for them to go to other places because they offered more training opportunities. Yeah. So from there, we went to, this is actually, I think, like when you and I really dove in together trying to figure out what we were going to do and how we were going to move forward.
Yeah.
And
this was after the first club season.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we ended up going to Athlete's Edge, I think was the second stop. And this was the sweetest guy, Keon.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Literally a sports performance trainer. And he had a, I don't know, maybe it was like a 10,000 square foot building, if that.
Oh, I don't even know. No, it was probably 7.
Behind,
because our first spot was 11. So think about that.
He let us come in there. We bought courts this is a weird full circle moment.
Still for sale if anybody wants them.
Well, those are sold. Now we have new quartz that need to be sold. So yes, we have 3 quartz up for sale. We bought quartz from Charvette and Smoky.
Oh, how funny.
And we bought 2 quartz, and they're like portable net systems and stuff. And we moved those into Athlete's Edge. Y'all, the ceiling was like 12 feet high.
Oh, it wasn't 12.
15?
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it was not.
It was not volleyball
space.
height, even close.
And it was like, what you would imagine a, sports performance warehouse. There was like turf in there. And our courts were on it.
Our courts were on top of the turf.
Anyways, I am so grateful to Keon and the opportunity that he gave us, because we needed that. And we were just so excited to have, a place where we could do lessons, because we could. They kept our courts and stuff up in there. And so we had an opportunity to train more, but still it became a very big issue. I think that our second year, I think we didn't grow tremendously. I think we had 9 teams. Mm-hmm. But still 2 courts with 9 teams is very difficult. And so again, then we set out we got to figure something else out. And so from there we went to Legends.
Yep.
And that was a much better situation.
Yeah.
And we had much more court space. And flexibility.
It was a huge facility.
Yes. And it was expensive for us to rent, but it served us well. And so I think it was at that point that we're like, okay, this is what we need, right? Like we have to have this in some capacity, and we don't have to own a building, but we need to be able to have something.
Yeah, that's ours.
That's ours, full time. And so again, we set out to start looking, and we were going to buy
or build.
We had to put down like earnest money and done all these things that had plans drawn up. I mean, we were like, we were almost to the point where
we had actual plans.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I just, like, Jen and I went to Mama Juanita's in spring off Luetta, and I was like, I
think we went and talked to my uncle.
Yes, we talked.
He was like,
we talked to Tom, and he was like, what are y'all doing? So then we went to dinner, and I was like, I don't think I can do it.
Yeah.
I don't think I can. And then you're like, no. And I was already feeling a certain way about like my family sacrifices and stuff. And so that just like heightened it tremendously. And so we had already looked, the building that we were at before this, off Hudson Corville, we had already gone there and looked once before, but it hadn't been built out or anything. I think you had done some research, pulled it up, and we were like, let's just go back.
Right.
Let's just go look. So we went and looked, and somebody had actually bought it since the first time that we had looked at it.
Oh, you're right.
So
okay.
George and Stacy had bought it and built it out. So we went back in. We were like,
totally different spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we were like, interesting. Okay, again, we're a nonprofit, so we're like getting approved for things or with banks and stuff is like literally near impossible. And so our commercial realtor Brenda, we were in Bible study together with her. So we went to her with all the things, and she put us face to face with George and Stacy Campos, who own this building. They own that building, and they have a love for Jesus. They have a love for volleyball. They play volleyball at their church, and they're like so into it, and they were inspired by us and our story and what we were set out to do. And man, it was like everything fell into place just absolutely perfectly.
It was instant connection and another God sighting. I mean, it was, and still is. Yes. To this day. The relationship that we have with them is second to none. And what they have been able to do for us and for Texas Legacy is something that we could never thank them enough for. Yeah. And the trust and belief that they have in what we're doing here, has just created something that for sure when we were sitting there at Athlete's Edge, never thought possible to be in the place that we're at now. So
no, and I want to while we're talking about all these stages, I want to speak on that. Like from the moment that I started Legacy and from each step where we were going, never once did we think we have to do this if we want to be successful. We have to do this if we're going to be like so-and-so. It was, hey, we need a better space for our kids.
Right.
We need to be under like a roof where we can offer them private lessons, where we can run skills clinics, where we can, all the things. It was always about the athlete. It was always about how to better their experience. It wasn't about what we were going to get in turn.
It's interesting too, because just going back and looking once we came together and went back over the business plan, because we did, every time we moved into a new space, they had to see the business plan. And so obviously we were updating it a lot in those first, 4 or 5 years. It was not that. It was not like, oh, we have to be able to compete with the best of the best. No. It was never like, oh, we want to have 35 teams or anything like that. It was always, I think that we have now surpassed what our actual goal, if you will, was, because I think we wanted 2 teams per age group, and that was like totally sufficient for us. And what our thoughts were that we would be able to maintain, again, and
quality
sustain
over quantity.
The quality over quantity.
Right.
You can very easily get too big to be able to have those relationships and stuff. You spoke earlier, and I actually meant to talk about it, about not knowing everybody that's walking in these doors. Obviously, that's one of our goals every single season, because we obviously have some turnover every year, is to know everybody that walks in the doors. And I won't be coaching this season, so that's something that I'm excited beyond belief about. It does make it very difficult when you're coaching your own team, because so much of your focus, so much of your energy and efforts has to go to that team. Rightfully so. We want to be very good at that part of it, because without that, we can't have all of the rest of it. But without coaching this year, my goal 100% is to know every single person that walks in that door, and for me to be the link between that and you, because you will be coaching, right? And you will have, and you're, running Premier Academy. There's more stuff that you're doing with the athlete side than what I'm doing this season. So again, in order to stick to our roots and maintain and sustain what we have built upon, it is very important that we carry out our mission of building relationships, being a family-centered environment.
Well, and that's what led us to this building, because
Correct.
We were Huff Smith Corville. We had already, within the first year.
We had 3 courts there.
Yeah, 3 courts. Yeah. And within the first year, we already needed more space.
Right.
And so we then rented out Grand Parkway Sports. We had 2 courts there and surpassed that. And
so we were functioning out of our home spot on Huff Smith Corville. Yes. And then in addition to that, with the number of club teams that we had, we were also renting space for some of our teams. Uh-huh. And then it was too much for that.
And so then we added Concordia.
So then we added another spot for some of our teams.
Yeah. So we were at 3 different locations, and we were like, oh my gosh. And that's when Jen and I really started just that stabbing at us that we're not even seeing all of our coaches consistently.
Right. Yeah.
We're not seeing these athletes. I'm having to coach at, Huff Smith Corville, and then drive my kid over to practice at Grand Parkway Sports.
Gosh, yeah.
But then,
God, who made that practice schedule?
Sacrifices, y'all. It's fine. So I was able to, see what was going on there and talk to those coaches. But it's completely different than having everybody under one roof, and the way that you get to, and mingle and interact with each other when you're here. But also the kids aren't seeing us, who we are the faces of this organization, and we love that. We joke we love attention, but honest to God, I don't need praise and attention all the time. Well, maybe sometimes, but I want the kids to know who I am. I want them to know that I love them and I'm invested in them, and I want to know them.
Yes.
So we went to George and Stacy, and we were like,
no, I think that they actually came to us to see if we were going to renew.
Okay, maybe that was our meeting, and we were like, oh,
yeah.
We'd already started kind of looking at spaces and stuff.
I guess so. We originally we signed for 5 years there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we're in the midst of 3.
Okay.
And so we had the option to move to 7 years.
Yeah.
And we were like,
right.
I don't know that we can. I don't know that we can do that. We need to be under one roof.
Well, we had also grown enough at that point that we were relatively known in the area, and the Farm League had come to us.
Yes.
To see if maybe we wanted to function out of space that they were planning to build. And, it was at the same time that we were meeting with George and Stacy to kind of deliberate ideas of where we could go from there.
So at that point, it turned into them super excited about wanting to provide a space for us, but also provide a space for them to build something for the community, right? Wanted to provide a space like that. Their community knew it was open to them to come rent courts, play, whatever. And so it turned into,
like, let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's come up with designs and suit our needs. And
then COVID hit.
And oh Lord, that was a whole wrench.
Like literally, I think it happened like right when we decided on all of this.
So yes, we were in all of those talks in 2019. Deciding what we were going to do. And then by the time we had made all of the actual architectural plans and everything, it was, rolling into 2020. And obviously that threw a kink in all things, but for sure building. So it was, I think originally we had planned to move in 21. Early 20 or maybe late 2020. I don't even remember.
We were supposed to be in, I think, September of 21.
Oh no, I think it was way before that.
Well, I think
originally.
Okay.
Yeah,
but then when COVID hit,
once COVID, it was like, I mean,
the building plans and materials and all the ways that everything in this world was affected.
Well, oh yeah, and then there was the fact that we had already created our teams for the season that we thought we were going to be in here at the beginning of it.
Yes.
And we weren't. And
so
man, at that
so
point,
stressed.
We had 24 teams and nowhere to put them. And
how did we even get there? We just ended on 9 teams and went to 24.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I think based on what I remember, I think it was 9 teams.
Welcome to our brains.
Yeah. Squirrel. 7, 9, 12, 16, 21, 24. I don't know how many years that is, but
I'm impressed that you remember it.
That was, well, I do all the registration, so
it's fair.
Like, it's kind of top of mind. But the effort was always there. Sure, if we can create teams that are of quality and that we can have good coaches staffed to work with those teams, then sure, we're okay with the growth. At what point, Katie, do you think that we were like hard line 24, 25 teams, like we're done, we're not going to go past that?
I think it was that third year when we started talking about this.
Yeah.
I think it was that.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I think because we're already feeling so like stretched thin about being able to touch everybody.
Yeah.
That sounds weird. To reach everybody.
Good.
Edit.
Okay.
As I reach my hands out.
You actually demonstrated.
I cannot.
Sweating.
It's fine. It's fine. But to reach everybody, to be engaged with our coaches and honestly, at that point, y'all, I'm going to say this, and I can't speak for the clubs, but we have very little turnover here in our coaches, and so I think that at that point we had found like a pretty great mixture and core of what we needed to be able to sustain 24 teams and feel good about the product that we were able to, to offer, to charge people thousands of dollars, that we were confident in the product that we were able to deliver. And so it was like, we're not going over 24. We're not going to just have to have 30 teams, 40 teams to pay our bills. Like this is what we're doing. This is the standard. This is what we'll budget for. This is what, like, if we can't move into this new building with 24 teams, then we're not doing it.
Yeah.
Because
knowing that there's always a possibility to, grow the club in other ways.
Yes.
And when I say the club, like club teams, we're set here, but in what ways can we grow this organization?
Right.
So that we're still reaching more and more people, but without it having that, effect of us not being able to maintain relationships in a family-centered environment with our club teams.
Yeah. So 24 teams was it. That was our jam.
Yeah.
And
it's pretty much what it's been for 4 or 5 years at this point.
Yes. And we have said no to teams because we didn't have quality coaches that we felt like we needed to have to sustain that. And also, I want to be able to say this. And listen, I understand that if your kid loves volleyball, you want to give them an opportunity. And even if they just want to play for fun, they don't play at high school, they don't go to play in college. I completely understand that. And again, there is a place for you. But it got to a point for us that we didn't feel like we could give the best possible experience to our athletes by making a local team at 16 years old.
Yeah. No, and that's fair because when you just start filling teams to fill teams and make rosters and all of that, like you lose sight of what what actually like built this into what it is. And so whereas I understand people wanting to have that opportunity for their kid if they're not playing at school or whatever, that's just not something that we have the ability at this point in what this organization is to offer. And we face that battle every single year, and it sucks to have to turn people away. And it's, you know, it's so hard on our hearts. I mean, how much do we cry at tryouts every single year?
The worst, we keep hoping that it'll get better, but
oh, the worst. I mean, it's like literally I freak out and dread that week
more than anything.
Every single year when it starts to get anywhere close.
Yeah.
It's like just instant sadness because it's never fun for us to have to do that. It's not, you know, part of what makes this job great. It's the worst.
Well, because we want to give opportunities to everybody that we can.
Yeah.
We wish it was easy. We wish everybody was like just awesome and we could just say 1, 2, 3, 4, you know.
Right.
You're on this team. All these teams are equal. It's great. Let's go play.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's never gonna happen.
No.
But
and that speaking on like being good at what we do, I think that's part of our culture. I think that's part of what has gotten us to this point is that there's never been a comparison. There's never been a drive to be like somebody, but just to be who we are.
Right.
And, you know, for like we got our first bid to nationals 4 years ago. And it was an American bid.
Yeah.
And we got 2 that season. We went from that and that just being like a huge moment for us of lots of hard work. You know, I mean, I think that, you know, the 15s team that got a bid that year, that core group of kids had been with us since they were 10 years old. Yeah. And so that was a really cool moment to see them where they, like at 13, they got second place twice at a qualifier. And then at 14s was COVID. And so their whole season was shot.
Yeah.
And then at 15s, you know, they worked hard all season. They came in second again in Kansas City to a team who already had a bid and then ended up going back to they accepted it and went back to their region. Like there was all these moments of like being so close to being there and then not, and then to go and they finally got their bid in Vegas. And it was such a cool moment. The same weekend, Jen and Smokey were in
same day.
Yeah. They got
like within a couple hours of each other.
Yes. Got a bid. I mean, huge moment. We'll have to like put that out.
Yeah,
like, that
for
video
sure.
out.
We can put that video out.
Such a huge moment for us.
Side out here, serve to win.
Out.
What did I say?
Right. This will be an ace. Don't win on an ace.
Who's serving? Kirsten? No.
Katie knows. Look at her body language.
Oh my god.
So
Look at Katie.
Let me pull my pants up. Let me pull my big head pants up.
No, yes.
yeah. Good.
There it is.
They just won their second bid of the day.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
What a year.
Awesome. That's so great. Where is Jessica?
But we were so excited. People are like, oh my God, it's an American bid, you know, like kids from other places or whatever and families. And we're like, we don't care. Like, this is a huge moment.
Yeah.
You know, you had to finish first. You had to be the best in that division at the tournament. That is a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, yo, thousands of teams.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just talking thousands of teams that compete for these things. And you had to finish first out of 164 teams in that division first. That is a big deal.
Yeah. It's a huge deal.
So then, you know, we went to nationals and that was, you know, we spent like 45 days in Vegas. It was fine. But it was great. It was a great experience. And then the next year, like it was insane what happened next year. I mean, literally that same 15s team double qualified. They won Liberty, they won USA, and then the 17s team won a freaking national championship. Like, made history. The very next year, we went from winning an American bid.
God, I'm gonna cry.
And winning an American bid to double qualifying, and then winning a national championship.
Yeah.
Huge. So that's like insane.
Yeah. It really is. And
It is.
I think that it's very easy in the club volleyball world to get caught up in divisions and, achievements and this and that. I think that staying true to who we were and working to progress each year, that's always been our goal, is to just progress from year to year. It's not, because we did this, we have to do this. Like, this is our new goal. Like,
Yeah, no, we're like
it's
looking at
not-
ranking, like, hey, we want to compete in this
Yes.
level of top 50 of whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say, like going to nationals, that first year we did fine. I mean, it was like probably 50-50 wins
Yeah.
and losses
No, it was-
for both teams that
Yeah.
went.
No, it was a good experience. It
It
wasn't like
was-
we got
yeah.
a handed to us.
It was good.
But I didn't, look at me, I didn't cuss. I said, but.
Well, I kind of like
Sorry.
really spit it out here.
Making it about me.
Yeah, if I'm gonna go win my over under. So, but yeah, like we did fine, and it was a great experience, and all of the things. There was never any inclination at that point like that. Oh, okay, so that set a precedent. We've got to do better than that this year. Okay, which we did,
Mm-hmm.
but that is something that I really love about who we are and what we do. It's not ever angled at like we have to go and we have to play in this division and we have to be able to compete in that, because that's maybe we can, maybe we can't, and if this team warrants that, then great, that's what we'll do. But we're never going to force anything, because we've seen clubs do that. We've seen how that affects them and what that leads to. It's not it's not necessary to be successful, because our version of what looks successful is very different than other clubs for like what they feel is successful. And I think that has enabled us
Yes.
to be able to continue to build, because we're building on our own success, our own version of what that looks
Yes.
like.
100%. But I love that you said that, because it takes me back to thinking about, remember there's times that we didn't even make elite teams because we're
Yes,
we're
yeah.
not going to label a team elite if they're not capable of
Competing
at
at an elite level. Yeah.
And people are like, like turning their noses up at us. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, guys,
Yeah.
you don't create something just to have a status or a name. Like,
Right.
no, it gets you into more trouble.
Yeah, that's just not, I don't know. And again, to each his own. Everybody has a niche. Everybody has, what works for them. And I think that that's great. And that's just not who we are.
No.
And as soon as we, deter from that, that's when you find yourself in trouble. So I'm actually super, super proud of the goals that we had set for ourselves and the way that, that played out.
Yeah.
And it is continuing to play out. We had this year 5 teams. So we had the year after we won nationals that year, we had 5 or 6 teams that got bids.
5 girls teams.
This year.
No, that was last year. That was year, because it was Caitlin's 16th year that you won a national championship.
Yeah. Oh, that
was me.
No big deal. No big deal.
As a first. 7 teams, 5 girls, 2 boys. And then 18 season, we had 13s, 14s, 15s, 16s, 18s, and then, so yeah.
Yeah.
It's been the same for the last
The boys teams.
2 years.
One of the boys teams double qualified.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we didn't even talk about that when we added boys. So again, being able to find ways to grow our organization without having to grow the girls' side of club volleyball. Once we moved into this building, it gave us the luxury of being able to run more and bigger programs outside of club, which led us to, boys volleyball. And as soon as, boys volleyball is growing like crazy around these parts, but
they are just like,
it's so fun.
They are,
those guys are so fun.
They make me so happy when they're in this gym or going to their tournaments. They are literally just, their love for volleyball and life and their ability to just like shake things off. Like women, we have a hard time like letting go of mistakes and doing things like that. They just they talk crap to each other and like banter, and then they get over it, and it's funny. Like they just, I don't know. It brings me a lot of joy to have them part of our organization.
Yeah, they bring a very different flair. It's really cool. And to see our teams, whether boys or girls, like at regionals last year, the amount of our boys that came to support our girls teams, it's just so cool.
And then even
like,
girls drove
camaraderie
to
that is-
Dallas to
Yeah,
watch them at nationals. Like it's cool.
Yeah, it's made it's added something very different and very genuine and new, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
So, and that's just going to keep growing because boys volleyball is growing like a weed around these parts. So
For
yeah,
sure.
that's exciting. All right, well, that was a lot.
It was. Look, and we had a really hard time starting, and
I
it
know.
was great.
I know, yeah. So like at the hour and 15 minutes, there was probably 15 minutes of that where I was like,
Yeah, you can do it.
I don't know what to say. Okay, so we're gonna figure out a way to like sign off.
All right. Hand hug.
Oh my god! Ew! She touch me. I would no, thank you. I don't want you. Not a hugger.
Okay,
Please
ladies,
don't
sign
make me
off.
uncomfortable. Terry and Jerry forever.
Terry and Jerry
Cheers.
forever.
Perfect.